Tacoma. Welcome back to TV Teaching for 2nd grade. Today is Tuesday, October 13th, and I'm Mrs. Oslin. Before we get started with our lesson, as always, we're going to start with our zones check-in. So take some private think time to think about what emotion you're feeling. Check in with what's happening in your brain, what's happening with your body, and then think of an I message that you can use to express your emotions to someone else. An I message sounds like, I feel because Take a minute to think about that. And then I'm going to model my I message with Gus. Gus, I'm feeling kind of tired today because I didn't sleep very well last night. But I had some extra coffee, so I think I'll be okay. Now, 2nd graders, it's your turn to use an I message to express how you're feeling and why. This week, we've been talking about gratitude. Gratitude is when we take time to stop and think about what we're grateful for or thankful for in our lives, the things and people that make us happy or bring us peace. And that's important because sometimes when we're not feeling the best, sometimes when we're tired like I am this morning, it gives me energy when I think about the people around me that love and support me. So take a moment and think about, what are you grateful for in your life? And I'm going to model sharing with Gus what I'm grateful for. Gus, I'm grateful for my friend Mrs. Weeder at Bernie, who helped me work through a problem. She was just an excellent thinking buddy with me this week. Now it's your turn. Share what you're grateful for or who and why. Excellent job thinking about what you're grateful for, 2nd graders. Now we're going to get started with our lesson, and the materials that you're going to need for this lesson are your learning buddy. I have Gus. You might have another stuffed animal or a rock like Pebble, or maybe there's a person in the room with you that can be a thinking buddy. You're also going to need your My Snap Words book that we talked about yesterday, and your ELA packet. To review, Learning Buddy, My Snap Words book, ELA learning packet. Get those things and I'll meet you over at the screen. You'll remember that yesterday we started practicing reading your Snap Words book, and I gave you the assignment to practice reading the one page of the book in a different way, or to come up with your own way to practice reading these words. Now today when you're independent reading, I want you to have your My Snap Words book out to help you find snap words that are in your book. And when you're writing, I want you practicing referring back to your My Snap Words book to make sure that you're writing your snap words correctly. Today, we are going to learn how readers use text evidence to share their thoughts about a text. Now, text evidence is where we go into the book and we use what the author and the illustrator of a book gave us to share what we think about the book. And we're going to use this chart. This chart is in your ELA packet. It's called Let's Talk, and it's going to give you some phrases to help you start conversations or start some sentences that you can write about what you're thinking, your opinions, your thoughts and feelings of the characters in a story. Now, if you're able and have someone in the room with you that you can actually have a conversation with, you can also practice asking questions of each other, and you can also practice agreeing or disagreeing with someone. And you'll remember then that when we're at school, it's absolutely okay to disagree or have a different opinion from someone else, but we're always going to do it respectfully. So we're always going to say, I disagree because, or that's interesting, tell me more about why you think that way. The book we're going to read today is called King of the Playground, and it's by Phyllis Reynolds Naylor, and it was illustrated by Nola Langner Malone. And this is a story about a character named Kevin, and he goes to the playground and he runs into another character, Sammy. And look at this picture. Kevin is the one with the Spider-Man shirt, and he's kind of chewing on his nails. And Sammy is the other character. Use the picture, some evidence from the text, to form an opinion about what kind of a person do you think Sammy is? Take some think time. Now I want you to practice using one of the sentence starters. I think, I notice, I wonder, What kind of a person do you think Sammy is? Tell your learning buddy. You might have said something like this. I'm looking at the picture and I notice that Sammy seems to be kind of coming at Kevin, and I'm looking at Kevin and he seems uncomfortable with it. So Sammy, I think, is kind of aggressive, maybe even a bully. I used text evidence. I used what I see in the picture that Kevin and Sammy are doing to form an opinion, what I think about these characters. We're going to continue practicing that as we read King of the Playground. Also, if you see any snap words, you're going to want to call them out. Kevin put on his Spider-Man t-shirt, his Batman underpants, and his jeans with the horseshoe on each pocket. But he didn't feel brave, and he didn't feel lucky. Now, right there, the author is giving me some information about how our character Kevin is feeling. He didn't feel brave, and he didn't feel lucky. He walked up the street to the playground. He wanted to go down the slide head first, but if Sammy was there, he wouldn't go down at all. Too late. Sammy was there. You can't come in, Sammy said. I'm king of the playground. And he told Kevin what he would do if he saw him on the slide. Kevin went back home. His father was making soup. I thought you went to the playground, said Father. Sammy says, if I go on the slide, he'll get a rope and tie me up, Kevin told him. He says he'll tie my hands and feet so tight, I'll never get loose. Now, let's think about the words that the author has given us, and let's think about the pictures that the illustrator has given us. And using our sentence frames, I think, I notice, form an opinion about the characters. What do you think about these characters? Take some think time. I think Sammy is a bully, like I suspected. He wants to tie up Kevin just for using the slide. I also notice that Kevin's dad doesn't seem too concerned about this, and I wonder about that. Let's keep reading. Wow, said Father. Really? And what would you be doing while Sammy was tying you up? Just sitting there? Kevin remembered when he tried to put a sweater on their cat. I'd be kicking my feet, he said. Right, said his dad. That's one thing you could do. The next day, Kevin went to the playground and got as far as the swings. "You can't play here," yelled Sammy, running over. "I'm king of the swings." And he told Kevin what he would do if he saw him on the swings. Kevin went home and sat on the porch. Father was washing his car. "I thought you were going to the playground," Father called. Kevin shook his head. "Sammy says if I go on the swings, he'll dig a hole and put me in it. He says he'll dig a hole so deep, I'll never get out." Take some think time. Use those sentence starters to help you form an opinion, and use the text evidence. Use what we know, the words and the pictures. "Gus, I wonder why Sammy feels like he needs to be the king of the playground and not play with Kevin." Now, turn to your learning buddy and tell them you're thinking or wondering using text evidence. Now we're going to keep reading and pay attention to see if your thinking, your opinions of these characters change with more evidence from the text. Father smiled just a bit. "How long do you think it would take Sammy to dig that hole?" Kevin remembered when he had helped his father dig holes for fence posts in the backyard. "A long time," he said. "And what would you be doing while Sammy was digging?" "I'd be kicking the dirt back in," said Kevin, and smiled a little too. "Right," said his dad. "That's one thing you could do." Now, I'm noticing that every time Kevin talks to his father about the situation with Sammy at the playground, his dad is asking the question, "What would you do while?" And he's kind of making Kevin do some thinking about, realistically, would Sammy really have the opportunity to tie him up or dig a hole? And then at the end of every page, he says, "That's one thing you could do." So I wonder what message or lesson Kevin's father is trying to teach him here. Take some think time. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you're thinking. Let's keep reading. The next day, Kevin went to the playground and tried to climb the monkey bars. "You can't play here. I'm king of the monkey bars," Sammy shouted, and told Kevin what he would do if he saw him there again. Kevin went home and climbed the maple tree. His father was working in the garden. "I thought you were going to the playground," said Father. "Sammy says if I climb the monkey bars, he'll come over to our house and nail all the doors and windows shut, and we'll be trapped forever." Kevin looked at his father, and they both started to laugh. "And while Sammy was nailing one door shut, we could walk out the other," Kevin said. "Right," said his dad. Now, I noticed that this time, his father didn't have to ask him, "What would you do if?" Kevin came up with a plan all on his own. The next morning, Kevin put on his Spider-Man t-shirt, his Batman underpants, and his jeans with the horseshoe on each pocket. He felt only a little bit brave and a little bit lucky. Now, right there, the author is giving me some evidence that he's feeling more brave and Kevin is feeling more lucky. He walked up the street to the playground. Thump, thump, thump went his heart. Sammy was sitting by himself in the sandbox. It was a big sandbox, but when Sammy was in it, nobody else wanted to play. Kevin slowly walked over. "You can't play here," Sammy yelled when he saw him. "I'm king of the sandbox." Kevin put one foot in the box. "Go home," Sammy yelled even louder. "If you try to play here, I'll put you in a cage with bears in it." Now, using text evidence, I'm noticing that Kevin is being more brave than he was in the past. Something's changing for him. Kevin put his other foot in the sandbox. Then I'll ride on their backs and teach them tricks, he said. Sammy stared. You can't, he yelled. They're wild bears. Then I'll squeeze through the cage and escape. You can't, Sammy shouted. You're too big. Then I'll take magic pills to make me little, said Kevin, beginning to smile. I'll get through the cage and hide. You can't, Sammy hollered. I'll run after you and pick you up and throw you in a trash can. Then I'll take magic pills to make me big again, and I'll drive away in a truck. You can't, bellowed Sammy. I'll go to the army and get a tank and chase the truck and push it off into the ocean. Try it, said Kevin. Sammy stopped hollering. What? He asked. Try it, said Kevin, and sat down. He began digging a tunnel at one end of the sandbox. For a moment, Sammy didn't say anything at all. Then he began digging a tunnel at his end of the sandbox. Faster and faster and farther they dug until suddenly, whomp. Now, look at this picture of Sammy and Kevin, where they're sitting in the sandbox. What has changed? What do you think or notice about these characters based on the picture, the text evidence? Take some think time. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you're thinking. You might have noticed that Sammy and Kevin are getting pretty close physically. They're both sitting down, sharing a space. And you'll notice that in previous pictures, Sammy would have his hands up, trying to make himself big in Kevin's space. But now he's got his arms in his own space. He's even kind of crossing his arms. And Kevin's no longer chewing on his nails, kind of cowering. He's sitting up and he's having a conversation with Sammy. So I wonder if Kevin is feeling more brave and Sammy is realizing he doesn't have to be a bully. They bumped heads right in the middle. This time, Kevin laughed out loud. He wasn't sure, but he thought maybe Sammy was smiling too. I'm going to build the biggest fort in the world, Kevin said, and began digging again. Ha, said Sammy. It's got to have towers. It will, Kevin said. It's got to have a drawbridge, said Sammy. It will, Kevin said. It's got to have a ditch all around, said Sammy. It will, Kevin said. Help me build it? No, Sammy told him. But he did. Now look at this last picture. What has changed? Turn and tell your learning buddy what you're thinking about these characters now. Second graders, I want you to continue thinking about using text evidence, the words and the pictures in the book, to help you form opinions. What do you think or feel about characters in your story? I want you to have conversations with people around you about the book. I think, I wonder, I notice, I believe. Asking questions of each other. Do you agree? What do you think? Practice having a different opinion, saying, I disagree because. You're also going to continue working with your Snap Words book, looking for snap words in your reading and using your snap words to help you be a stronger writer, spelling these words correctly. You're going to continue building your independent reading stamina, reading for longer and longer periods of time. Second graders, thank you so much for reading and thinking with me today. This is going to be your 5-minute break where you're going to make sure you get a chance to go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, and stretch your legs. And when you come back, Mrs. Wally will be here for math. Thanks so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Welcome back, second graders. I hope you had an awesome break. Today we're going to do some more math together. There's some things you need though to do our math today. You're for sure going to need a whiteboard or a piece of paper and something to write with. You're going to need counters and your learning buddy. So make sure you grab those and then come back and we're going to do some mental math talk stuff before we get going on our lesson, all right? Great. So as people are getting their things, those who are ready, I want you to look at this equation. And you need to decide, is this equation true or false? And how do you know? Private think time. True or false? And how do you know? Okay, go ahead and tell me, true or false? I hear some people say true, some people say false. So let's take a look at the numbers and let's see if we can work it out together. We need to put these two numbers together, but we have to do it with mental math and not counting on our fingers. So I know that there's a double hidden in this 7. There's a 6 and a 1. What's 6 plus 6? 12. 12 plus 1? 13. This equation is true. Let's go on to the next one. Okay. 6 plus 6 equals 11. Is it true or is it false? And how do you know? Oh, you guys knew that really quick, didn't you? You knew because we just were back here and we said 6 plus 6 is 12. This says 6 plus 6 is 11. Is that true or false? It's false. We know because 6 plus 6 is 12. Excellent work, second graders. 6 plus 4 is 9. Is that true or is that false? Why do you say it's false? Because 6 and 4 are partners that make 10. So 6 plus 4 is not 9. False. 6 plus 4 is 10. We could prove that with a proof drawing. Watch this. I'm going to draw 6. And then I'm going to do 4. And we know that if we have 5 and 5, it makes 10. All right. Take a look at this problem. It says, find each unknown number. 7 plus 5 is equal to or the same as 7 plus 3 plus blank. So did they pull the 7 apart? No. They pulled the 5 apart. So they've done a 3. What goes with 3 to make 5? Yes, 3 and 2 make 5. So it is 7 plus 3 plus 2. I would like you to try the next one on your own. You ready? 8 plus 5 is the same as 8 plus 2 plus, what do you think? Go ahead, tell me, what do you think? 8 plus 2 plus, how did you know it was 3? Oh, Pebble says, Mrs. Wally, because up here we already pulled 5 apart into 3 and 2. So they just used the other part 2. So we know the missing addend is 3. Remember, an addend is a part to an addition problem. Last one, 9 plus 5 is the same as 9 plus 1 plus, how did they pull apart that 5? They turned 5 into 1 and, yes, 4. So 9 plus 5 is the same as 9 plus 1 plus 4. Excellent job, second graders. Now, we're going to do a story problem. Meet me on over at my whiteboard so we can show our thinking together. Are you ready? Let's go. It says, there are 4 children on a rug. More children joined them. Now there are 10 children on the rug. How many children joined the first 4 children? When I read story problems like this, sometimes my brain gets really tired. Ta-da! I realized why you couldn't see my whiteboard. My whiteboard computer had fallen asleep. I just woke it up. So there's lots of words here and it can feel really confusing. So we're going to go really slow and read it. And we're just going to ask ourselves, what's happening? And we're actually going to take the numbers out. There are children on a rug. Okay, do you see it? Children sitting on a rug. A rug is another word for a carpet or on the floor. More children joined them. Now there's a group of children on the rug. How many children joined? Does that help it a little bit? I find sometimes when story problems are confusing, to take out the words is helpful. So we've got children sitting on a rug, some children come, and then there's a group of children on the rug, and we're trying to figure out how many children came and joined them. So let's figure out our question. What are we trying to figure out? I want you to say it. What are we trying to figure out? How many children joined? And it says the first 4 children, but I don't know that that's really important information. We're just trying to figure out how many children joined in this problem. So what's the important information that we know for sure? What do we know? We know that there are 4 children on the rug to start, okay? Do we know how many children come? Nope, that's unknown. And we know at the end there are 10 children on the rug. How would you draw that or model that with your counters? What would you do? Oh, okay, Gus. Gus says, well, Mrs. Wally, we should draw a box and put 4 children because that's what we start with. I'm just going to put CH for children. There's not enough space. And these are the children that start. So we're going to write start. 4 children start. Then what happens? Some more children come. Do we know how many children come? We don't. That's our question mark. These are the ones that join. They use the word join instead of come. So let's use the words they use in the story problem. Join. What else do we know? The whole thing is 10. I would like you to go ahead and use a picture or counters to model this problem and see if you can find the answer. You ready? I'm going to give you about 20 seconds and begin. Keep going. See if you can figure out how many children join. Okay, so I know to start, I have 4 children. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know how many join, but I know that in all there are 10 children. I have a few options. I can take 4 from 10, I can count on, or I can think about my partners that make 10. What goes with 10? What goes with 4 to make 10? Blank and 4 make 10. Does anyone remember? 6. Now that we used our mental math to figure that out, so we need to check our thinking. So how would you like to check your thinking? Would you like to subtract or would you like to count on? I like counting on when I see a problem like this. So what I might do is count on with a picture here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sure enough, there's 6 X's. So what is our answer to our problem? 6. Which letter would you circle? C. Nice job, second graders. Go ahead and clear your board. All right, Pebble, are you ready? Okay, there are 5 cows in the barn. There are 8 more cows in the field than in the barn. How many cows are in the field? Ooh, this is another one of those really fun puzzly problems. So we've got to slow down. I know sometimes my brain goes, oh no, I don't understand. But that's okay. You just tell your brain, calm down, brain, it's okay. We're going to figure this out. We're going to go slow. We're going to read it as many times as we need until we can draw a model. and then we'll solve. So we're not worried about solving right now. We're just trying to figure out what's happening. So let's read it again. There are cows in the barn. There are more cows in the barn than in the field. Private think time. Do I have more cows in the barn or more cows in the field? There are more cows in the field. Okay, so I've got cows in the barn, right? And I've got cows in the field. Are the cows in the field the same as the cows in the barn? Less than the cows in the barn, or more than the cows in the barn? There are more cows in the field than the barn. There are more cows in the field than the barn. So this is B for barn, and this is F for field. Okay. Are you starting to see that this isn't as difficult as we thought? Now let's put the information in that we know. First of all, what are we trying to figure out? We are trying to figure out how many cows are in the field. So where's our question mark going to go? It's going to go in the field. Big old question mark. We don't know how many cows are in the field. What do we know? We know that there are 5 cows in the barn. What else do we know? There are 8 more cows in the field than the barn. So where would we put that? 5 and 8 more. So this is still 5, right? Both of these, this size would be 5. This is the more and less part, isn't it? If we were to add 8 cows here, that would tell us 8 cows more than the 5 just here in the barn. So this is 8 cows. Now take a look. This is an upside down number bond. Here's a whole and a part and a part. So what are you going to do to figure it out? Write an equation that you think matches this picture. 5 cows in the barn, 8 more cows in the barn than in 8 more cows in the field than in the barn. How many cows are in the field? Oh. Okay. So we're trying to figure out how many cows live in this field. So I know that 5 are in the barn, and I know there's at least 5 in the field, and then there's 8 more. What is 5 plus 8, second graders? If you're counting on your fingers, I want you to stop and I want you to think. Fingers are great, but I want you to think about this number 8. Is there a 5 that is in 8? Just like we were doing up there on our board earlier? Yeah, 8 is the same as 5 plus 3. What is 5 plus 5? 10, and 3 more is 13. You didn't have to use your fingers. You can use your math thinking and what you know about parts of numbers to help you solve problems you don't know. So what's our answer? How many cows are in the field? 13 cows are in the field. So is it A, B, C, or D? Our answer is D. Excellent work. Okay, here we go. Jin has 9 markers. He has 5 more markers than pencils. How many pencils does Jin have? Here it is again. It says, choose yes or no to tell if each equation could be used to solve the problem. We don't guess. We build our model, and then we'll check the equations. Are you ready? What do we know? That Jin has markers. These are Jin's markers. M for markers. Jin has 5 more markers than pencils. So our pencil is going to be longer or shorter? Which one does he have more of? He has more markers than pencils. So the pencils is going to be shorter. These are our pencils. Okay? We are trying to figure out how many pencils does Jin have? So where do we put the question mark? Right here, the pencils. What do we know? Jin has 9 markers, so where can I put 9? Yeah, here on the M for markers. What else do I know? That he has 5 more markers. Look, we have that more and less space again. 5 more markers. Oh, what if I was to make this a number bond? Do we have a missing whole or a missing part? We have a missing part. So let's go through and see if these problems, these equations would help us solve. If I have 9 and I take away 5, will that give me my answer of 4? Yep. So the first one is yes. What about 9 plus 5 equals 14? If I take 9 and I add 5, I'm going to get 14, but we said the pencils was less. So does that make sense? Is that a reasonable answer? No, because we said that the pencils was less and 14 is more than 9, so that's not reasonable. Okay, what about 14 minus 5 equals 9? Where are they getting 14? Do you see 14 anywhere on here? No. So does that help solve this problem? Nope. What about 5 plus 4 equals 9? Does that equation, what if we did this? 5 plus blank equals 9. 5 plus blank equals 9. 5 and blank equals 9. Does that work? Yeah, it does. That one works. See how the models help us figure out which equations to use when we're solving a problem? They are so important in mathematics. Even the smartest mathematicians use models to help understand their thinking around math. So I'm going to skip that one, and we are going to do this problem. It says, write a problem that can be solved using the bar model at the right. Then show how to solve your problem. So I'm going to make this bar model, and I want you to think of a story problem that would match this model. Give me a situation. Private think time. What story problem matches this model? Okay, turn and tell your learning buddy. I'm going to listen to Pebble. I think Pebble has a great idea. Oh, I like it. That was great. Okay. Would you like to hear Pebble's idea? Okay. Pebble says, there are 8 frogs on a log. 6 jump into the water. How many frogs are left? Does that work? There were 8, 6 jump. How many are left? So we could put jump, left, frogs. Okay. How would we solve that problem? Looking at our bar model, what equations could we use? Yeah, we could say there are 8 frogs, 6 jump off. How many are left? What's another equation we could use? 6 frogs jump off. Some are left. There are 8 frogs on a log. 6 frogs jump off. How many are left? Does that work too? What is our answer? What is 8 minus 6? 6 and what makes 8? Yeah, 2. Excellent work, second graders. There are 2 frogs left. Meet me on over at the smartboard to go over your assignment for today. For your assignment, there was a part that I skipped just now. It was number 4 on page 74. I want you to do that problem. And then I want you to do the math journal problem as well on page 74. That's your assignment for today. Not too much work today, just a little bit. Thank you for doing all that work with me today. Meet me on up at the camera for our affirmation. All right, second graders. I know that being home with your family a lot and being in the same house, we've all been home a lot, haven't we? And sometimes problems creep up, don't they? Yeah, that's part of life. That's part of relationships. We all have disagreements with family members and friends, but I want you to remember that you are an excellent problem solver. You have skills. You've learned from Chili, you've learned iMessages, you've learned how to share your feelings. Those are all things that make you a strong problem solver. So I'm going to practice the affirmation and then you're going to do it. I am a strong problem solver. Your turn. Excellent job, second graders. We will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Hey kids, we want to see your work. Just send your pictures and your stories to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.